Hello and welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
For almost 2 years, I kept a secret from my family. Not because I was ashamed, but because it was the only thing in my life that still belonged entirely to me. After retiring at 66 from my position as regional director for a transportation firm in Manchester, the silence of my days became unbearable. For 4 decades, I had worked 12-hour shifts, built teams, solved crises, carried responsibility. Then, suddenly, I was done. My wife, Caroline, adjusted effortlessly. Charity galas, wine tastings, Pilates mornings, weekend trips with friends. Her calendar overflowed. Mine emptied. Whenever I suggested doing something new, she would smile in that gentle, dismissive way that feels polite, but lands like a verdict. "Robert, you'd get bored," she once said when I mentioned studying art history. "You've never really been academic." It wasn't cruel. It was worse. It was casual. Over time, I stopped suggesting things. And then one night, unable to sleep, I enrolled in an online Spanish course. I didn't tell her. At first, it was mental exercise. But as weeks passed, it became something else. A quiet rebellion. Every evening, when Caroline watched her dramas downstairs, I sat in the spare bedroom with headphones on, repeating phrases, studying grammar, memorizing legal vocabulary. 18 months later, I was fluent. Our daughter, Amelia, had lived in Barcelona for 9 years, working in international property development. She spoke rapid, effortless Spanish. Caroline adored that about her. During visits or video calls, they would often switch languages mid-sentence. I would smile and sip my wine. They believed I understood nothing, and I let them believe it. Then one Sunday evening, Caroline said, "Amelia found a property near the coast, a villa outside Valencia. It could be perfect for us, summers in Spain, close to her. It's also a smart investment." For the first time in years, she sounded excited about something that involved both of us. I agreed immediately. The villa was located outside Valencia, perched on a hillside overlooking the Mediterranean. White stone walls, wide terraces, citrus trees lining the drive. Amelia insisted she would handle negotiations because the sellers were Spanish. "Dad, I'll translate everything," she said warmly. "You just relax." Relax. That word again. We flew into Madrid, then connected to Valencia. The afternoon sun painted everything gold when we arrived at the property. The sellers, Javier and Lucia, greeted us with warmth and espresso. Amelia slipped into fast Spanish. I listened and understood every word. The tour was impressive. Renovated kitchen, infinity pool, reinforced seawall. But I noticed small omissions in translation. When Javier mentioned rising coastal insurance premiums, Amelia summarized it as standard costs. When Lucia explained that a retaining wall might require reinforcement within 5 years, Amelia translated, "Everything's in excellent condition. Nothing catastrophic, but not transparent." Then we sat at the outdoor stone table to discuss the structure of the sale. Javier asked casually, in Spanish, "Will the deed be in all three names?" My heartbeat slowed. Amelia responded smoothly, "Just my mother's and mine. It simplifies inheritance planning. My father prefers not to deal with complicated paperwork. Prefers not to deal." Caroline nodded sympathetically. In hesitant Spanish, she added, "Legal matters overwhelm him." Overwhelm. Amelia continued, lowering her voice slightly. "We've already consolidated most finances under Mum's supervision. It's easier that way. Less stress for him." Consolidated. Last year, Caroline had suggested merging our investment accounts for efficiency. I had signed without much thought. Then came the sentence that made my hands go cold. Amelia said, calmly and professionally, "Eventually, we may need to consider assisted living arrangements. Structuring assets correctly now will make that transition smoother." Assisted living. For me. Without a single conversation. They spoke as if I were already fading. Javier hesitated. But he is contributing financially? Amelia smiled politely. It's family capital. Ownership structure doesn't change that. Family capital. 42 years of relentless work. Career opportunities declined because Caroline didn't want to relocate. Savings carefully invested. Retirement funds built patiently. Reduced to family capital. I stared at the ocean horizon and felt something inside me settle into place. Not anger. Clarity. The meeting concluded with handshakes. Amelia negotiated a modest reduction in price. Caroline beamed at her daughter's competence. On the drive back to Valencia, Caroline scrolled through photos of the villa. Isn't it perfect, Robert? Amelia is so capable. We're lucky she handles these things. Yes, I replied calmly. That night, while they slept, I sat on the hotel balcony and called an international solicitor recommended by a former colleague. Her office was in Madrid. We arranged to meet the following morning. Her name was Elena Marquez. I explained everything in English. Then, deliberately, I switched to fluent Spanish. She paused only slightly before responding in the same language. What you describe, she said carefully, is a classic positioning strategy. Gradual financial consolidation. Narrative framing of incompetence. Preparation for asset transfer. Narrative framing of incompetence. My chest tightened. She requested copies of every financial document, especially any power of attorney forms. Power of attorney. A memory surfaced, Caroline presenting papers during what she called routine estate planning. I felt a cold wave of realization. You must verify your current legal authority immediately, Elena advised. And you should secure independent control of your retirement funds before any purchase proceeds. Secure control. For decades, I had prioritized peace over precision. That afternoon, I accessed our joint accounts from my laptop in the hotel room. Passwords I had originally created still worked. Transfers had been made. Not theft, but strategic repositioning. I opened a new individual account and transferred my pension distributions and investment dividends, legally mine, into it. Quietly. Then, I drafted a short letter requesting copies of all estate planning documents signed in the past 2 years. The next day, during lunch at a seaside restaurant, Amelia began discussing timelines in Spanish with Caroline. I waited until she finished. Then, calmly, in perfect Spanish, I said, "If my retirement funds are involved, my name will be on the deed, and no decisions about assisted living will be made without my participation." Silence crashed over the table. Caroline's fork froze midair. Amelia stared at me. "You understood?" she whispered, for quite some time. The color drained from Caroline's face. "I didn't want to embarrass you," I continued evenly, "but I will not be positioned as incompetent in conversations about my own life. No shouting, no accusations, just facts." Amelia recovered first. "Dad, we were just planning ahead." "Planning requires inclusion," I interrupted gently. Caroline tried to smile. "Robert, you're overreacting." "I've already met with an independent solicitor," I said calmly. "My financial authority is being reviewed. Any property purchase will reflect equal ownership. If not, it will not proceed." The air shifted. For the first time in years, I wasn't reacting. I was directing. We returned to England 2 days later without signing anything. In the weeks that followed, several truths surfaced. The power of attorney document I had signed was limited, but broad enough to allow financial maneuvering. I revoked it. Legally. Immediately. Caroline was furious at first, then defensive, then quiet. Amelia avoided my calls for several days before finally phoning. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said. "I know," I replied, "but impact matters more than intention." Months passed. We did not buy the villa. Instead, I enrolled in a Spanish literature course at a local university in Manchester. In person. Not in secret. Caroline attended the first lecture with me. She didn't laugh this time. Our marriage did not magically transform, but the balance shifted. Respect returned, not dramatically, but steadily. And one evening, over dinner, Caroline asked, "When did you become fluent?" I smiled. "About the same time I stopped being invisible." For the first time in years, I felt fully present in my own life. Not managed, not simplified, not scheduled for disposal, just aware and impossible to overlook.